I am made happy every single time I see this man's face and hear his voice. Brockmire has made his return. I don't know where he went. I was told this would be a weekly thing we were doing with him. I was told we would get a podcast as well. Regardless, thrilled to have you here, Brockmire. Thank you for joining us. What's going on? I'm really happy to see you.
I thank you. Happy to see you too. I mean, I guess the whining you engage in is now just part of the show. It's just part of my intro is crybaby whining about I'm not sure what. But nice to see you too, Dan, as always.
We're supposed to have a podcast from you. It's not whining. People are waiting for it was very popular. Your first season of podcast was very popular.
Yeah, well, we're doing this for about 20 minutes once a week. Yeah, we missed last week. My apologies. I think you were gone too, weren't you? Were you around last week?
I was around. It was just you that was missing. I was waiting for you.
All right.
We were expecting you.
Well, all right. We'll sort this out. You know, I don't think your listeners or viewers or podcasters or Twitterers really care about this. It's just good to see you, as always. Literally, I heard the power went out in your brand new studio.
Yeah.
And no one could see anything. What happened there?
Yeah.
Because I know you love hiring family members. So be honest, did you have a cousin do the electrical? Or since it's Florida, did you build your studio there in Florida on an old abandoned pill mill pharmacy and angry junkies came back and stole the copper wiring? What's the story
We
there?
just moved into a new building and the power went out. That's it. I can't control whether the power goes out.
That's it? The power just went out?
That's it. The power went out for the entire studio. It was very hot.
No, I believe you. Okay. I mean, because we do live in conspiracy-soaked times, as you know. So I got to at least ask, is that true, really? Power just went out. Or was the whole thing just an experiment to see if you all would look better in low light? Because the answer to that is an unbelievably resounding yes. The less light, the better over there for you folks.
It's slimming, that's true, but I really don't think you should start with insults. You haven't even been here. What are you doing? Really? You're just going to...
Well, no, that's just legit. But I was a little snarky there, but because I heard Stugotz say that he longed for when you all had a makeup artist on the TV show.
Yes.
You know, and you said that. And I got to just say, and I think I speak for everybody, that we long for those days as well. The sweet summer days of ignorance before you all volunteered visual evidence as to how much you've all abandoned your dignity and self-respect. Look at you. Look at you. You look terrible.
Thank you.
How about just a mirror? We'll all settle for a mirror. Where's the nearest mirror to you fellas?
Come on.
Just so you know, so that I know that you know the horrors that you're willing to subject the rest of us to.
Come on.
I mean, have you covered the mirrors around you in some masochistic act of Shiva to like mourn the death of your self-respect or something?
Brockmire.
Because you obviously don't look into them.
Brockmire, come on, man. Why all the insults? Can we get started with the sports segment, please?
Or like you care about sports. But listen, I kid. I kid because I care, honestly. The truth is I respect the hell out of both of you. The empire you built there, and you managed to keep the lights on most of the time. And no, honest, can I be honest for a moment? I mean this. Nobody in the pundit game, sports world, to me, matches your intellect, your knowledge of sports, your effervescent personality, your gift for comedy, your timing. I believe you are the best in the game, 100%.
Oh,
thank you.
That's very, very sweet of you, Brockmire.
It's true. Which is why it's always very shocking to watch you glide into work wearing a ball cap and a sweatshirt, whatever you have on, with your skin greasy enough to stain a pizza box. And then why does the clothing keep getting wider and looser? It's like you're growing tired of the basic constraints of clothing. And you're just going to be wearing a patterned bed sheet with a giant hole cut out for your giant head soon. Look, you see this? I know it's not a very fashionable jacket, but it's a suit jacket. I'm a professional. I mean, you walk around like an estranged Little League dad who drinks a tall boy in the stands by himself, which is fine. No, it's fine. Live that way in your own home. But Dan Le Batard, you send that haunting visage out into the world. I know I'm going on, but I mean this. Really Everybody's computer and phone and tablet sees you. You force the world to look at how you choose to present yourself every day. I'm just asking for just a little bit more effort or a trigger warning. A trigger warning should come with your image.
Let's talk Heat, please. I can't get too far away from talking about. Are you drinking again? The Miami Heat. Let's discuss this. Heat culture. Are you buying Heat culture?
You can't not buy Heat culture. It's real. I mean, you don't keep getting back to the finals with undrafted guys if the structure of development is not there. And Larry and Butler, they've proven they can recognize those outside the organization who would be great fits with what they've already built. But there is something, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies the way they talk about what goes on in that building. I mean, I have to take this quote. I have a quote from Spoelstra here from after the game. Okay, he said, Spoelstra said, things don't go your way. We just keep on forging ahead and suffer and suffer and suffer until you get what you want. Now, that reminded me of another quote from Pat Riley. Riley said, pain is not bad, it's good. It teaches you things. I understand that. Wait, forgive me, mistake, little mix-up. That's not a quote from Riley. That's from Charles Manson, okay? Interesting how similar they are, though, isn't it? Wait, here's the Riley quote I was actually looking for. Riley said, the individuals at the core of our group have worked closely together for over 20 years. We stay positive in every circumstance and put the good of the team over any personal concerns or egos. Wise words, but hold up. Apologies once again, not Pat Riley. That was from the Heaven's Gate religious group's website. That's the gang of folks who coordinated a series of ritual suicides coinciding with the approach of the Hale-Bopp comet, okay? It doesn't seem, though, that all those folks in that cult would have done quite well in Heat culture. A lot of mental toughness, willingness to sacrifice their bodies for the ultimate prize. I think they'd have fit right in.
Wait a minute. So you're accusing the Heat of being an actual cult. You're not even here to talk about culture. You're here to accuse them of actually being a cult.
Now, I would not say that. You said that just now. So now that you have, let's dig into your theory, Dan Le Batard, about how Heat culture is a cult. Thanks for saying that. Because I got a numbered quiz here, like you take on the internet, to find out if you may be in a cult. Let's take the quiz, shall we?
Okay.
Since you're the 2023 Heat expert, help me through this. Okay, so 1, at the head of the organization, there is a charismatic figure, quite often, who impresses his power and will on all those below them. Anybody like that in Heat culture, Dan? Someone with a cult personality, like a David Miscavige from Scientology, like slick back hair kind of dude, showing off his gaudy ring. Somebody like that.
That does sound like Riley. Yeah, it does sound like.
Oh, why? You're right. It does. I'm shocked. Okay, I'm sure number 2 won't apply at all, though. There's usually an enforcer within the inner circle. Someone who's been there from the beginning with institutional knowledge, who will physically correct all those who defy the will of the leader, sometimes with violence. Yeah, does that sound like anybody?
That sounds like Udonis Haslem. It does.
It sure does, Danny. So far, your theory, Dan, is right on. This is why you're so good. Dan Le Batard's Heat cult theory. You see things, you see things the rest of us can't even dream about. Number 3, the leadership within the group fosters a feeling of constant persecution, an us against the world mentality. Does that sound
Come
like
on,
that?
that's every team. That can apply to every single team ever winning in sports.
Including the Heat. So we're 3 for 3. Right. Pretty damning. But I'm sure number 4 will eliminate Heat culture from the very premise of being a cult. Number 4, there's an attempt at near constant control of the members' lives. Most often, this will manifest in dietary restrictions and manic periods of forced exercise.
All right, that's it, Brockmire. I can't have you slandering around here during this.
It's your theory.
This celebratory time, this championship effort by calling them a cult. I'm not going to let you keep doing this on the eve of a finals appearance here, besmirching Heat culture.
And not besmirch. I don't besmirch nothing. It's a compliment to say that Heat culture is a cult. Because you can do amazing things once your brain is just wiped clean, you know? Look at Scientology Tom Cruise. The man used to be an actor, good actor. Now he's a 60-year-old stunt man trying to outdo early 80s Jackie Chan. Have you seen the trailer for the new Mission Impossible? You seen this?
I have
the
not.
The crazy son of a bitch. He flies off a cliff on a motorcycle into a base jump. I mean, the guy from Cocktail, he's now wiping his ass with Evel Knievel's memory. I mean, cults, they can do amazing things. Thus, I think that he'd have a real shot.
How about the Nuggets? I want to talk about the Nuggets as well. I don't like your Heat thoughts. So your general thoughts on the Denver Nuggets in this series are what? I'm assuming we're going to get to baseball at some point. You're not exactly a basketball expert.
I have baseball stuff, but no, I'm glad you brought up the Nuggets because Jokic, it's Jokic, right? Not Jokic, it's Jokic, right? We say Jokic. I mean, this guy's offering a representation of an underappreciated member of the basketball community. I'm talking about the YMCA superstar.
The old man game. We love the old man game around here. Tony got his shot blocked by the old man game around here.
Allegedly.
Well, I'm not just talking about the old man, like the one-legged jumpers where you don't actually jump. I'm talking about the genuine weirdos who step out onto the hard court in the knee pads and the goggles and the oddly shaped bodies, all of which work to disguise the fact that they can dominate in the game of basketball. Because that's what you find at every YMCA in America. And Jokic is in that tradition. You know, he's got the face of a little too much Sazerac. Got the face of a knockoff John Wick henchman the body of a fat kid who wore his undershirt in the pool. And he uses height and creativity. The guy, he explores passing angles previously unimagined.
It's true. He does.
I mean, similarly, I once watched a 70-year-old Catholic priest at a YMCA throwing elbows in a pickup game like a young Bill Cartwright in such a reckless manner that suggested that there was no God, no sir, just an endless sea of nothingness that always beckons us forward toward its soft embrace. That's what that guy's basketball game reminded me of. And it's that kind of unexpected, terrifying basketball beauty that one can normally only see at the YMCA. That and, a lot of urine in the pool.
That's so true.
Ungodly amounts of urine in the pool.
So
but anyway, anywho, glad to see that type of basketball finally made it to the NBA Finals. Here's to you,
all right.
Jokic.
It's very early for the Sazerac. We're going to take a break here. We're going to come back.
Never too early for Sazerac.
It's such a funny comedic word, Sazerac, and such heavy liquor for the morning. We come back with Brockmire after this.
Should see what I drink in the afternoon.
Do want to get to baseball stuff with Jim Brockmire. That is his alleged area of expertise. He still loves the national pastime. But Mike Ryan has been joking for years about Jokic's arms during games. They are always bleeding. In this series, at some point, his arms will be bleeding. Do you have anything for us, Brockmire, on the subject of how strange it is that forevermore, there's one guy in the NBA whose arms are always bleeding?
Yeah, it is strange, but Mike Ryan, it's not funny to me, Mike Ryan. It looks like one of them weird fetishes that you stumble on when you're tube site, when you're looking for your own weird fetish, but you happen on another weird one. You know what I mean? I know you know what I'm talking about, Dan Le Batard. You of all people, you know what it's like when you're in incognito mode there. You click the wrong video thing, and you see some BDSM session where they cane somebody's armpit or something. That's what Jokic's red arms look like to me. It's a kink that I just rather leave that unexplored. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. I know you know the feeling of trying to get. You know the feeling, Dan. Don't deny it. You're trying to get your rocks off. Accidentally, you witness that which doesn't do it for you. And I speak for both of us when I say that's not what we want from our entertainment. Okay? Jokic's arms make me feel like I'm watching a Tarantino movie where some poor actress is showing her bare feet for absolutely no reason. I mean, can somebody please explain to me? Why does Margot Robbie or Sharon Tate, why she would go see her own movie and take off her shoes and stick her gross, dirty feet on the back of the seat and then watch the whole thing through her toes? What the hell is that? There's no diegetic reason that should occur. I don't like it. I don't want to make jokes about Jokic's arms. Don't make me.
All right. Thank you for not doing so. He is swinging vigorously from the Sazerac. Please, let's talk baseball. We've hired you, and this has been very inconsistent. You show up when you want to. You don't do the podcast you're supposed to, and it's supposed to be a weekly baseball segment.
Boy, if you keep crying about this, you're not even going to get this. I'll tell you that right now. This is what you're getting we'll see if we can work our way up to some kind of podcast, and we'll get guests together. It's a lot of work. I don't think you appreciate how much work it is, Dan Le Batard. You sit there, and your ball cap, which at least it's facing forward. Yeah, I'm surprised you're not one of them kids that likes to ball cap backwards, and you've taken the stickers off the cap too. That's good. That's very adult of you. Podcast. This is it. This is what you get. I have your people set it up. I thought you guys were going to do it. Mike Ryan, hey, Mike, instead of making fun of Jokic's afflictions, why don't you put together the podcast so that Dan can stop crying?
Can we do the baseball bit here? You're here for?
Well,
please?
You're the one who keeps poking at that thing.
The baseball bit.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Once again, to beg a general audience to please, folks, please pay attention to the game of baseball. Because this week I want to talk about a new twist on an old classic, okay? Position players pitching in blowouts, right? That was once an occasional treat. It has now turned into an analytic necessity to save meaningless pitches from valuable arms. Anytime now, it's late in the game, 10-run difference in score, you will see non-pitchers on the winning and losing team lobbing 45-mile-an-hour lollipops over the plate like they're in a slow-pitch softball beer league.
So true.
This does not happen in any other sport, man. The NFL doesn't have linemen lining up behind center late in the fourth, throwing passes. Centers in basketball don't take turns chucking half-court shots at the end of an NBA game. Only in baseball do we choose to pass the time with outright farce at the end of the game. And I absolutely love it. It's so stupid. Baseball is so many things, but one of them is really, really stupid. I mean, it's the first American sport. It's the proto sport with quirks and unique qualities that were natural selection ground down for later sports. But anytime baseball is really stupid, to me, it's at its most beautiful.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Is baseball beautiful at its most stupid? Thank you, Jim. Appreciate the time. Appreciate that you are back. Even though it's a bit inconsistent, we can count on you now from week to week, sort of, kind of.
I'll make you a deal. You count on me week to week. You can. Podcast, whatever. We'll make it work. But please, Dan, in return, just hire a makeup artist, okay? And I do mean artist, because it's an act of creative imagination to embellish those massive sun-soaked, middle-aged, made-for-radio punums over there.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Nice having you back. I think your insults were aggressive. Enjoy the Sazerac.
I went really Jewish on you today. Punum and Shiva. Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. I did not know much I did not know about Brockmire. I don't know much about Brockmire, his religious tendencies. I assumed he was an atheist.
I just know the lingo.
Okay.
I am not a Hebraic. I'm not of the Hebraic background. Well, I'm getting really drunk.
See you later. Good talking to you, Brockmire.
Shalom.
I appreciate it.
Shalom.
He mentioned Tarantino, and something I wanted to bring up to the group, because Tarantino, not unlike Scorsese, is now protecting his thespian cultural arts. And he is saying, what is a motion picture anymore? And the way that he dismisses it is he says, Ryan Reynolds, I keep seeing $50 million for this, $50 million for that, $50 million for that. And while he's not saying where is it, because it's on Netflix or it's on Apple, what he is saying is nobody's watching these movies. Where are these movies? They're not motion pictures. They're not like my movies. You put them in a theater and people gather around. And it's so interesting in the streaming age to see these sculptors, these curators who really care about film, from like a child. Stugotz, I don't know if you've seen the Spielberg documentary, but people who choose film as a career, the sculpting of it, they fall in love, whatever the reasons are, in their youth, to escape some things because they want to run off with their imagination. And the way Tarantino talks about where his love of film comes from, these aged masters don't like the changes going on in Hollywood, don't want to make something for the streaming services. And so when Tarantino asked, what's a motion picture? Do you care?
No, and a motion picture is Maverick. I mean, people showed up to the theater during a pandemic still to see that movie. If you make the right movie for the big screen, I believe people will still come to the movie. And if you don't, Dan, then you have to adapt to the times.
Okay.
Like you and I got into doing live radio on the AM dial, okay? And now we're podcasting. We're recording a show.
Tarantino doesn't have to adapt to anything.
Well, he doesn't have to.
But I'm saying he will be successful. I'm talking about the genre he cares about. I'm talking about his lament that Ryan Reynolds is getting paid $50 million a movie so that Netflix can goose its numbers or Apple. And when he says that he hasn't seen any of those movies, you have. You've enjoyed a couple of those movies because it's whatever. An ambulance chases a helicopter and they collide into each other.
Yeah, I mean, the previews get me every time. That's the danger of Netflix is the previews. I mean,
but there is obviously something to it, right? And you can't, one, you're not going to fault a person who's made a career out of that to romanticize about going to the cinemas. It's in part where they found themselves. But we can just project that onto sports. When we were in the middle of the pandemic and the crowd was altered, either reduced greatly in size or removed altogether, ratings were down. It wasn't the same experience. We missed the roar of the crowd. And it's essentially someone saying, just watch these things in television studios, you'll get the same effect. And I can feel like we've seen the ratings, it bore out. You can feel strongly about that. And I do. I guess I'm from an age now it's easier to get transported by your phone or a video game, I guess. But for a large chunk of these filmmakers, going to the cinema was the only way to be transported to a different world. So I understand why people romanticize it. I do too.
I wonder, though, if the people listening to this, especially young people who have grown up with a different thing as their life experience, whether they look at Scorsese and Tarantino and look at them as old men shouting at clouds.
But there's nothing like the experience of watching it in a theater. Even Top Gun Maverick, watching it with friends in a theater and having the roar of the crowd. Like there are certain movie experiences that you know. I know Snatch was a movie that you watched in the UK, and you transport yourself to those places, and I think it's this sensory overload, and I think it's a beautiful thing, and I'm glad that these stalwarts, even though they have some horrible takes, that they're still fighting the good fight to make sure that people still have that big screen experience.
Do you think that Ryan Reynolds cares one way or the other where his $50 million is coming from? Whether he needs it?
But I don't think Reynolds cares about movies and the history of movies and going to the theater the way someone like Tarantino or Spielberg might, you know? I just don't feel like he's younger. I don't feel like he cares. And he's an actor. He's not directing. And no, I do not think he cares where his $50 million comes from as long as he gets his $50 million.
We don't have, unfortunately, everything working here today that needs to be working for us to do our show. But I urge you to just go to Netflix, if you have it, and check out the trailer for Fubar, Arnold Schwarzenegger's latest work.
It's great.
The trailer.
Just want to button something up here. Ryan Reynolds is 4 years younger than Stugotz.
Really?
Did you have him at like 32?
I did, yes. Yeah.
46,
yeah.
According to Wikipedia.
I mean, look at us.
Dan thought he was 80, so.
You were in high school at the same time as Ryan Reynolds was.
No way!
Yep.
Get out of here.
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show.
Not aging well.
Can you believe that Stugotz and Ryan Reynolds were in high school at the same time? That is Fubar. It is beyond all recognition. But that's not what the acronym stands for in Arnold's movie. And all I will tell you, Stugotz, because this is the trailer, I'm going to show it to you on my phone during the break because I was sending it to people. But all you need to know for the purposes of this discussion is they give the letters in the acronym Fubar, they give them each a different meaning.
Oh, boy.
And the R...
Yeah.
Well, the A in Fubar is for abs.
Uh-huh.
Duh.
And the R in Fubar, as explosions go on all around Arnold Schwarzenegger, the R in Fubar is for, and the announcer growls it this way, Arnold.
Sold.
That's what the U is for.
Wow. What? What just happened?
What was that?
Mike, that was not good.
Jess, the lights are on.
Chris Cody, that was not good.
The lights are on. You're not fooling me. Was that Toto Wolff?
No, Michael, that was so not right.
Just before Caleb Martin came on here, Stugotz was reading from his computer and saying out loud, I'm going to the poll, Dan. And he says to me, can you believe Ryan Reynolds and Stugotz were in high school at the same time? He said, it's racking up a lot of votes. And then he says, I'm going to vote. And he said, then I'm going to vote yes. And then he just looked defeated at me and said, I'm losing. Caleb,
by a lot.
Caleb Martin with us now. Very excited to have him. Very exciting time in South Florida. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations. And thank you in general for doing the things that you did that made South Florida fear a little less that Boston was going to spend the entire summer laughing at Miami. Can you tell us, Caleb, in the last few hours, have you heard from anybody that has moved you, that has made you a little bit emotional? Because this has got to be a pretty special time for you.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people reach out, show a lot of love, and but, obviously, my mom and my family, and Cole. Obviously, Cole called me right after the game. Everybody knows the story about Cole pretty much now, but, Cole called me and we were talking after the game, and he was just so hyped, jumping up and down. I had a lot of my people, a lot of people in my circle call and hit me up, man. So it's been an amazing time.
A lot of people do know the story, but is it legitimately 100% so that there's no way that you're on the Heat if not for J. Cole? Like, is that overstated?
I don't think so. I think that honestly, I think the chances of me being here without him making the phone call and getting in touch with Karan, it'd be pretty slim to none. I feel like I definitely probably wouldn't be here for sure.
Which was the rejection in your journey that hurt the most when you think of the teams or the tryouts to get here?
Definitely probably getting waived by the Hornets. That was my first. That was like, not getting drafted. I could prepare for that, and I kind of been prepared for that, and you kind of get an idea whenever you're going through that process. But I think that definitely get away by the Hornets was definitely probably the biggest slap in the face.
And if I come to you on that day and say, what does the best of your possible future look like from here on a day that might have had some doubt in it, what are you saying to me?
Man, at that point, I had no idea, man. I just honestly at that point I couldn't. That was my first time experiencing that in the league, so I just had no idea how it went after that. I'm thinking automatically, like, I'm thinking I'm going overseas. So I'm like, it was crazy to me. I definitely thought that was, if I had a chance to go to the NBA, it would be through maybe an exhibit 10 or 2 again. And I was trying to do it again.
Forgive me, your sound just kind of cut out there, and we sort of lost you when you said I was thinking that I was going to have to go overseas to make a living professionally. You were saying after that?
Yeah. After that, I was just saying, like, basically my chances of making it to the league and sticking it to the league felt like it was slim to none. It was going to have to really take a team to, kind of see something in me to give me the opportunity again.
So what did you imagine? Did you imagine, like, I'm going to have to play where when you're thinking overseas? Like when you're doubting about, you're thinking that the dream might be done, or that you'll get back to the NBA through overseas?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is always the NBA. I was definitely, even if I had to go overseas, I was definitely going to try to definitely make my way back to the NBA, kind of like PJ Tucker did. So I knew it was I knew there was a chance to do it, but I just know it was really, really hard. And I definitely didn't want to take that step to go overseas until I knew the league, the dream of the league was done. And, I just knew that, like, maybe if I just got into a gym or a workout or a scrimmage or something with the NBA team, I could show them that, that I definitely have something I can contribute.
Caleb, a lot of people talk about the Heat, their organization, the culture, but they don't know exactly what it is they're talking about. So can you explain the difference between your experience with the Heat and, let's say, the Hornets?
It's definitely just just like people say, the culture, the vibe, how you work and how the people are. I mean, I know people within the Heat organization have been together for a long time. Can't say that for every organization because there's moving pieces all the time. People take other jobs or whatever it is. People get fired, whatever it is. But here they keep it really in-house, so it almost feels like a college feel to where they've been together for a long time. They look out for one another, and just the way they work, they're coming from a winning background. So they just know how and what it takes to kind of get to this point where we're at now. So you definitely feel that vibe and that energy as soon as you come in.
In Game 5, you looked to have hyperextended your knee. It looked super painful. I didn't think that you'd bounce back from that just from the angle that we got on television. How much pain were you dealing with throughout the remainder of that series? Are you good now?
I'm good now. Honestly, it definitely tweaked it for a little bit. And it was sore for a little bit, but at that point, I was gonna play as long as I could walk or as long as I could run. I was gonna play. It didn't matter. So I was just, I know a lot of people at this stage of this, late in the postseason, they're gonna play through everything. So I just wanted an opportunity to kind of get to this moment where we're at now, and I just knew that if I was going to be able to get there, we were going to have to play through some injuries. So it's not too bad now. We've been doing some treatment. I'm in good shape now.
You can only give me one name as an answer to this question. Who was the most pissed off after Game 6?
Probably OG. Probably OG. OG, he was he played 48 minutes that night. He gave everything he had. Like that's how OG feels, man. Like anytime you lose, he really feels that, whether he's playing a minute or not. He's ready to rip down the whole arena when we lose, especially a game like that. That really stings for him. So he was ready for Game 7.
What does that mean, though? Explain. What does that look like?
Man, he's a lot of a lot of walls being punched, a lot of stuff, a lot of damage to some of his own things, some of his own property. But he's just you're kind of one of them guys, you just gotta let him go do what he does, man, because you definitely don't want to get in the way of that. And but that's just him, man. That just shows you he just cares so much. I love that.
Have you had a confrontation that we can better understand the conflict where the Heat resides? They don't mind confrontation. There's growth in confrontation. Have you had something like that with Jimmy?
Yeah, we've had some brotherly confrontation for sure. All the way leading back to when I first got here, when I was on my tour. A lot of people don't even that's just you get into it with a lot of people. I get into it with Kyle, I get into it with Bam, I get into it with Tyler, I get into it with everybody, just because everybody's competitors, man, and the background everybody comes from is just so natural. Whenever you have that type of connection, you just start. That's what happens. You fight with your brothers all the time. I got into it with Kyle the other day. I'm looking right after the game. That's my brother. So.
You got into it with who after the game? I'm sorry, you broke up there.
During the game, it was just I got into it with Kyle. I get into it with Jimmy and stuff, but it's not like get into it like you ready to fight or anything like that. It's just more like you just trying to stay on each other's ass just to make sure we on the in the right spot to be able to win. So it's all just it's all at a good look.
I want you to pick from among these numbers which make you proudest. You can only pick one set of numbers. You averaged in that series 19.3 points a game. That's 10 points more than your season average. 6.4 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 60% shooting, 60.2% shooting, 48.9% from three. Which of those numbers to you is the one that you like the best?
I like the 48. I like the 48 from three. So, man, we keep knocking down threes, and I keep, shooting with confidence. And, man, it's just it's tough to guard whenever you got guys shooting with confidence like that.
Caleb, you don't really show a lot of emotion on the court. I've never really seen emotion burst out of you the way that I did in that Game 7. Is that the most in the zone you've ever felt as a professional? Because it means a lot because we've seen Jimmy feel it, And in those moments where you were feeling it, Jimmy was deferring to you. And that was pretty wild to see.
Yeah, it just shows you, man, he got a lot of trust. Like, he knows the work I put in, and like, you know, I'm a hustle guy. I do what I gotta do, kind of, you know, that plug and play type of guy. But I got a lot I can do, and you know, but that's the NBA. That's being on a team. That's playing a role. You figure out your niche and you figure out how to stick. It's not about trying to be that guy. It's about just trying to figure out how to stick and give the team what they need. And everybody's capable of more. You know, every guy on every team and every role who's not the man is capable of more. It's just whenever you get those opportunities, you got to be ready for them. So I just made sure I was ready. I just made sure I tried to stay ready throughout the process, always since the first moment I got here. And I knew eventually a moment like that would come, and I was just going to make sure I was ready for that.
What one shot felt best to you? Because I would say that that's not the shot you want. Caleb Martin against Giannis, slapping his hand away in that situation. Even if it's a corner three, not the matchup I want. No disrespect. I just that seems like not a great idea in that situation. What is the shot that felt best to you?
Just throughout the whole playoffs, or just the series?
No, the whole thing.
The whole thing. Definitely that one. Definitely the shot on Giannis. I felt like I was back in college. I had the same exact shot in the go to the Sweet 16 when we beat Cincinnati when I was at Nevada. But it was just on the right corner in front of Cincinnati's bench, or maybe no, our bench. But I had the same one. I slapped his hand away. It was my old teammate, Kyle Washington. I played with against at NC State. I slapped his hand away the same way. I jabbed, slapped his hand away, and I shot it. So I mean, I knew as soon as I got it and I jabbed, I was going to shoot it. So, you know, definitely not the shot you probably want at that time, especially because it was alone too. But, you know, I feel like I had a good idea I was going to go in.
Caleb, we have about 30 seconds here. If I showed you a standard stock photo of Nikola Jokic and I said to you, that's the best basketball player in the world, would you believe me?
No chance.
Thank you.
No chance, man. No chance. That's crazy. He's nice. No chance.
We have more than 30 seconds. He lies to you. He can't help himself on that front. Are you aware that you had 135 points on 88 shots and Jaylen Brown had 133 points on 134 shots in that series?
No, I had no idea. I was just hoping, and I don't really, you know, I'll wait to look at the numbers, I guess, until like after the series and stuff like that is open. But no, I didn't know the, you know, logistics of the numbers and nothing like that. But I was trying to go play and play confident, man. So I just, whatever came with it was just trying to play well. That's all.
So are you surprised at all that you had more threes in the series than both Tatum and Brown?
I mean, considering how, you know, that does surprise me a little bit just because how well they can score the ball. And, you know, they're two of the best scorers in the league. And, you know, I just, you know, credit to our defense and stuff to make it tough on them and try to take that aspect of their game away. We just knew if they got rhythm especially from the 3-point line, it was gonna be long nights. So we just tried to do everything we could to make it tough on them, and I think, you know, we did a pretty good job of that.
Once Tatum was injured, was the entire game plan to send Jaylen Brown to his left?
I think that was always the game plan.
Always the game plan. It didn't. Dan likes to do this thing where he's putting everything on Jason Tatum's injury, not knowing exactly how hurt your entire team was.
No, but wait a minute.
Like, Tatum was out there.
Like this thing
that was gratuitous. You don't think they wanted to send Jaylen Brown to his left prior to?
Wait a minute. You say this thing I like to do. I mean, it does matter. It doesn't diminish their victory
You're talking about a dude that became the best wing on the court after he hyperextended his knee.
It doesn't diminish their victory
at all. It does. When you gratuitously add Jason Tatum turned his ankle. Come out there, man. You didn't hurt it that bad if he's not getting treatment constantly in between. Get out of here with that. And also, Caleb, you being on the show allows me yet a third opportunity now to apologize directly to the face of a Miami Heat player, because during this season, I got to tell you, I was out to sea. I lost all hope. This was a really difficult season when you compare it to the number 1 seed of last year. Were you like me? Did you lose hope sometimes? Do you understand why I lost hope? Basically, accept my apology. I'm sorry, Caleb Martin, for doubting you guys.
I appreciate you. No, I understand why you would. I never lost hope. We always knew. I think that was why it was the most frustrating, because we knew what we had. We knew what we were capable of, and we knew we just knew what we could do, but we just weren't doing it. And we just weren't getting it done the way we were supposed to. And so no, I never lost hope. It was just frustrating at times, just because I knew we were capable of so much more. But but to go back to the injuries, we had a ton of injuries. We have one all NBA guy, Vic, who was out. We had 20-point scorer and Tyler, 6th man of the year, who was out. Everybody at this point in the season dealing with injuries, and when you're out there playing, nobody cares if you hurt or not.
Last thing, the Heat shot 45% or better from 3 8 times all season. They did it 4 times against Boston. They did it 2 times against the Bucks.
When it matters.
The inspirational video that people are talking about, I'd like some details. Was it just media members saying that you guys didn't have any chance? Because I feel like that's what the inspirational video would be, the 15-minute inspirational video. What was in there?
Which one?
The one that was being credited that Spo didn't want to talk about after the game.
No, it was a video on a group of guys. They put this team together to roll across the Atlantic, and there was different factors that kind of played that really related to our team, with guys going down or maybe having a little bit of doubt just because of how tough it is, or how so we just had a lot of relatable things that related back from the video to our team. Especially now, we watched it in the Bahamas for training camp earlier this summer. And then we end up watching it again full circle. And after everything we went through this season that people don't know the heck for, it really shed a lot of light on the things that they were going through and we were going through. So it was a good video.
But was it like a real rowboat, or like one of those boats that has like a giant room on it and probably like one of those little engines, and then they take breaks? And we've had one of those guys on before.
Luxury
and I'm telling
rowboat.
you, yeah,
Yeah.
geez, nicer than my house. Some of those boats.
Yeah, it was like a smaller boat. It kind of had a little small
Yeah.
whatever in it.
Yeah.
The roll call, I don't know. It was crazy.
I'm glad it worked for you guys, but I'm not buying it.
Caleb, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it. Congratulations, sir.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you for having me.
All right, man.
Thank you, Caleb.